I know, who cares about slice of life? Save your keystrokes. All you shonen kids can go watch my Academy acclaimed video on Chainsawman. Because despite the rumors, I too was once 13 years old, so I forgive you for not getting slice of life. But this video is about Bocchi the Rock, because it's great and nobody is talking about it. But to explain how good Bocchi is, we have to understand where it came from, and to do that, we have to talk about it. So, K-On! In the dead heat of the moe craze, K-On! Came out and effectively defined the next decade of slice-of-life shows. Simple plots, high-pitched voices, and glare-filled eyeballs infested the genre. The arrival of these shows also spawned a new tag, moe. See, K-On! Is moe, but moe is a controversial thing. Moe isn't super well defined. We don't have a similar word in English, but you kind of get a sense for it the more shows you see. This era of anime where moe was the fad eventually devolved into moe trash, or shows that have little plot or really any reason to exist beyond just having a moe aesthetic. K-On! Isn't the most egregious version of moe trash, but at times it ventures towards it.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
And if I'm being honest, I've always felt it was a pretty mid-show overall. When people complain about slice of life being nothing but cute characters bullshitting around, they're talking about K-On! Of course, nobody thought these things about K-On! In its prime. It's only in the rearview mirror that the show has lost a lot of its luster. The slice of life genre, and by extension the viewers, have moved on. K-On! Has its place in history, but it's not a classic. It doesn't hold up the way other seminal works do. Bocchi is better K-On!, and I can prove it mathematically. Well, maybe not, but I can give a few good reasons. Firstly, the story. To the people who have actually seen K-On!, do you remember what the plot was? Group of girls start school band to save the music club. That's it. That's the whole plot. 5 hours and 20 minutes of that. 8 out of 10 on Mal. There isn't even really any significant character developments throughout that runtime. The main cast is the same at the end of the show as they were at the beginning. Obviously, some people don't really mind this. I mean, it's one of the most popular anime of the last few decades for a reason, but just liking the characters shouldn't be enough of a reason to excuse the absence of any, plot. Compare this to Bocchi. Even though the premise isn't very inventive, my isekai video has a thing or two to say about loser to hero stories, there is a very obvious path for character development. Bocchi begins the series as a shut-in who has no friends and whose personality will not allow her to make any. The obvious path for the plot is to go through the process of Bocchi gaining friends and learning to interact with people. Obviously the series isn't over yet and they could conceivably do something to fumble this, but with how well it's been handled so far, I don't see that happening. Then there's the looks. I'm not an art critic, and I think it's unfair to try and judge older shows by new standards, so comparing the looks of any older anime to any new anime is always going to be difficult. In an attempt to be less biased, I'll resort to the less conventional measure of memes. That might sound like a joke, but walk with me for a second. A really good measure of the looks of a show is how well they stick around in the minds of viewers, and you'll see that run off in the form of image macros. It might not be a good measure of how technically good the artwork is, but I think it's a good shorthand for how sticky a show's looks are. So between the castanets dance and a fistful of yen, K-On! Has its share of high-profile macros. But despite this, when I look at K-On!, I can't help but see it as really dull. I mean, K-On! Came out the same year as Bakemonogatari. K-On! Came out the same year as Bakemonogatari, and that show puts K-On! To shame in terms of colors and character movement. And I think that's reflected in just how many Monogatari memes there are. I think even among its contemporaries, K-On! Isn't a particularly good-looking show. It's cute, but not much else. Bocchi, in comparison, is on another level. Almost every scene has a style shift or some pronounced distortion that really adds texture to the animation. It's the kind of show that'll cut away to a claymation zoetrope to depict Bocchi's inner thoughts before turning her into a literal blob. Or show the outlet of a dam as an intermission. That's why so many of the screenshots you see from this show look so weird. It reminds me a lot of Spy X Family and the way that Anya was showing up all over the web in different memes and styles, which shouldn't be surprising to anyone since both of these shows were, at least in part, animated at Cloverworks. I mean, honestly, look at these three and tell me that K-On! Is the best looking. It's like mayonnaise. It's the ugly sister of the trio. Both of these shows outdo K-On! In everything, from character design to shot composition, and I could go on about all the different things that Bocchi just does better, from the phenomenal voice acting performances to the inventive use of perspective shots, but I think you all get the point. So, Bocchi is a great show with lots of character, a classic story, and is being made by a studio full of talented artists. And I guarantee you it will not get a second season. Yep, go ahead and write this one down as one of the hidden gems of 22, because I can tell you, much like the rest of the content on my channel, nothing can escape the shadow of a man with lawn care equipment coming out of his forehead. What Bocchi will be, whether it finds mainstream success or not, is an example of how to improve on a formula. Bocchi is, so far, doing what K-On! Never could, proving that the genre is more than just cute characters flitting around from subplot to subplot. It takes a relatively predictable plot and shows how to make it compelling through style and story. And if they manage to stick the landing plot-wise, I think between its artistic dynamism and colorful characters, we could see it setting a durable standard for the genre. If we lived in a just world, Bocchi would be getting the same hype as Spy X Family, but we both know that's not going to happen. So if you're looking for the best slice of life show this season, I'd point you to Bocchi. If you're looking for the best girl band show for the last few years, I'd point you to Bocchi. And if you're looking for some weirdness and just out-of-the-box thinking with animation, I'd point you towards Bocchi. And if you do decide to watch it, tell your friends to watch it too, because I really want this thing to get a second season.